Today, I want to introduce you to Sharad Gumaste, founding principal of Cedar Consultancy. And Sharad and I know each other from way too long ago. Our gray hair is showing when we were both working at the Food Safety Inspection Service at USDA. So thank you for joining me here today, Sharad.
You're welcome, Jeremy. Really, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I mean, to speak of gray hair, I have a hat on to cover my baldness, and and so appreciate it. Yes, I have some fond memories of working for you at USDA, and really looking forward to success on your platform, and see a lot more people come and speak at your podcast.
Well, thank you. So for those who don't know you like I do, and even then I have a lot to catch up on, tell us a bit about who you are and where you're from and what you do.
Okay. So I'm born and brought up in India. There is a southern state called Karnataka. I think a lot of IT folks do know Bangalore from it being called the Silicon Valley of India. So I'm from that state, not exactly from that city. I grew up in that state, and middle class family in India. My dad worked for a government agency in India. It was the telecom agency that supported all the telecom infrastructure in India, and he moved quite a bit for his job. But we stayed and studied. All of my studying as well as most of my work career has been in Karnataka, India, and really that's a little bit about myself.
So then, from there, though, what brought you into the IT field?
Yeah, so I think we shared this joke quite often. In India, there's really, at least when I was there, maybe there's some things are getting better now, but it was either you're an engineer or you're a doctor. Really, there's no other. The kids there are prepared just to do that. And they have a lot of what they call reservation system, as in the government wants to encourage a lot of different classes of folks getting seats reserved for them, and that affected. And I wanted to be a doctor. I just couldn't get into the school I wanted to get into within the state, and so the only other option was to be an engineer, computer engineer. Computer science is what I took. But to be honest, once I got into the field, I really started liking it. There's a lot of, we had these very cool labs in the school that let us play on the IBM systems back then. This is I graduated in 93. 1993 is when I graduated my bachelor's. And so, one of the coolest things was Prince of Persia game came out right around that time on the computer, and they allowed us to play in the lab. So you would see the lab filled and constantly occupied because everybody that was non-computer as well wanted to come and watch it. The people play it and things of that nature. But jokes aside, I really started liking what I was reading there, and excelled in school. And then job-wise, again, Bangalore was starting to get to be an IT, but for the longest time, India stayed to be providing IT services to the rest of the world. They really didn't need anything right there in India from IT perspective, because there was not too much investment in the IT for within India itself from an infrastructure. It has changed significantly now. All of the government is run by IT. Everything is now IT. But back then, really, everybody that was IT was doing some kind of work for either European countries or America, of course. So right out of the college, I think as a couple of years, I did some work back in India. Again, one of the companies I worked for did some work for a Japanese electronic company. But then, as you remember, this H-1B program, temporary work program, was really what was catching up. America was really starting to like the IT talent that was coming out of India, especially. And so I got into that. And so I found a company here in America that was providing IT services to, commercial as well as federal customers. So I found one of those companies. They sponsored my H-1B, huge deal, right? So taking the computer course was worth it. And later on we'll catch up. But I at the end, right now, I'm happy that I'm not a doctor. I'm engineer, IT engineer. So that's my short IT career. Getting into IT as such.
Well, and you did IT for quite a while, and you definitely, you have the education and background, and and did a lot of really good stuff, at least when I was at USDA and the interactions we had there. But how did that then turn into wanting to start your own company?
Yeah, and before I go to the company side of things, I just want to cover the fact that I came and worked for a small business here. The fate brought me to a really small town called New Braunfels, Texas. That was my first IT job there. I worked for a company that managed software for handling the gas pumps, and so that there was a Mexican company, but we were doing software here in San Antonio, Texas, New Braunfels area. And really, good things started to happen for me, if you will. They allowed, they completely sponsored by masters in information technology. So I did um, um, a combination of information technology and information management in University UTSA. I graduated from UTSA, and that's where my interest for running an IT organization started to build. I learned a lot of management concepts, management theories, people management, communications management, and things of that nature. That really then started to prepare me and make me more confident that in a foreign country, I should still be able to, talk to people, create a business model, and be able to manage it. Right. That masters gave me a little bit more confidence in the fact that I can start a business in America,
Sure.
right? And there was like I said, it was a mix of 50, it was about 60% management, about 40% IT in there. But by then I was doing IT, and geekness has never left me. And in fact, it's starting. Some of my people now are starting to tell me that I need to step back, not talk IT, because I'll get to that. But I'm still a true geek at heart. I still like to solve real computer problems, as in, sometimes I go into, even now being CEO, I still go into trying to solve some code problems. And if somebody is struggling to, find some code issues, I want to get in to an extent, right? I have in my basement, I almost had a data center. I have about $6,000, $7,000 of investment in a Dell PowerEdge server I built. I have that. And my passion, doing something on my own has always been there with me. Even when in India, I didn't do just one job. I used to go teach at a computer school in the evenings after my day job. And even when I came to America after I had my twins, I used to teach at two universities. So University of Phoenix as well as Colorado State University. So I taught at two universities. So doing something for myself always gave me the maximum pleasure of achieving something is what I had. But now, starting my own company and an IT services company within the Washington, D.C. area, it turned out to be a really, I guess, as they say, opportunity met, it's no luck, but opportunity meeting preparation. So that's how I see it. So I'm going all over the place, but the master's degree is what really helped me be ready for starting my own company.
That's a really good point. I've known a lot of people in IT who, they stop at the bachelor's and that's fine, right? They do very, very well in their careers. But then I've met a few others who have gone into additional education and done something similar to you, where it's not fully focused on technical aspects, but brings in that business side, which then, adds in some dynamic opportunities to learn about, leadership and business management, and what does it mean to, for the business side of the business, not just the delivery of technical solutions, but how do we make a business function and make money and keep it going?
Right. And so again, the coupled with my education, I'm a classic case of necessity is the mother of invention type of thing. From San Antonio, I wasn't happy there from an IT landscape. So I wanted to go out and find other areas where there's more market for IT. Dallas was, the closest, but it wasn't as heavy in. I went on dice.com. I had a C++ programming background, and they said for C++, you must be in Washington, D.C. And so I found a startup company here in Reston, Virginia, and then moved here. And within my 6 weeks of moving here, I was told that the company has no more funds to survive.
Of
It was
course.
a startup company, very badly managed by the founder at that time. And so if you can imagine, San Antonio, a very small town, we owned a home there. We were paying mortgage, and it wasn't sold there yet. We came here, huge townhome price. I was paying $2,800 for a small townhome, $900 mortgage there, and then I have no job, right? I paid for my own moving as well, because they said, 90 days and we'll pay for your moving expenses and stuff like that. And now I had to go do something. So I found a job as a chief architect at GDIT, General Dynamics Information Technology. That's where I think I started working for you at USDA. I was a sub to them, and we were working there. But then I started again. My I have to do something on my own kicked in right after settling down in the job there. And what the best thing was to start an IT services company, and immediately I did that, and I became a sub to GDIT within that USDA's contract. Within the first year, we grew from 1 to 6 people right there in that. At that point, it was just a staffing company. And I was still doing a lot of programming and information technology as an employee of the company.
Wow. That's interesting. I mean, because that's a unique look into that, how do you start a business without a lot of capital, right? You do it while you're doing your other job.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's a good point you bring up. I think if any business is well suited for zero capital funding, this is the IT services business, right? I mean, you need very little capital to start. But it's the drive. You just need the drive, because government contracting by nature, as you know, is pretty hairy. So you need a lot of patience to register your company. Although generally they make it easy just to enter into the SAM and put your company in, but then you have to register with your state, and so that initial drive is what I think stops many people from doing any of that. But yeah, I'm glad I did, and then we grew from there. I think I spoke to you earlier that. The passion I showed in growing the business attracted larger businesses to work with us, and be partnering with us at USDA. It was really, we were doing so well. And when I say we there, right, it was me. I was doing well. The customer wanted me there, and that's usually how the small businesses start. They want that person because they don't really care about the company or what have you. They want the work done, and so. I saw that as an opportunity, really. If they want me, then I should, attach more strings to it. You know what I mean? And so build the company. And that's how I started it. And then we grew our business. So, and the big first win was a 30 million 5-year BPA. I was the sub in. We won that contract, and that gave a really solid footing for growing from there.
That's true, because right, you have to make money for a company to grow.
Right. Yeah. And so I think if I can go back, my passion was to build a data center on my own at that time, right? Let's imagine 10, 15 years ago, you had, if you had a server that had 64 processors in it, then you can do a lot of things on that. And so I wanted to build a Moodle based, I don't know if you've heard Moodle, it's a learning management system. So I wanted to build, so my passion is like, I wanted to first build that Moodle platform itself, and then build courses on top of that, and then actually teach them, right? That's how I want it to be. And that, that type of drive is still within me. Even now, once in a while, I log in our Azure instance and try play around with something. Music is my another passion. And in this COVID situation, I would really love to build a platform for music collaboration across the world. Now that musicians cannot come together in a common hall and do their music bits together, there are things like live jamming. So your guitarist could be in UK, and you could be in a singer could be in America, and they can come back. And so I'm exploring that kind of opportunities, building AWS and Azure platforms for that. That's so still, yeah, I'm still IT, geek at heart.
So then, so your company's been around for a little while now. You've been growing and having some successes. what what is something you see within the way we do business here in DC, especially because that's where a lot of the government work is? But how is there a change or an idea that maybe we should capture and consider in how we do that government and industry interaction?
Yeah, I mean, we are 9 years into the business. The first few years were just staffing and learning through the model, and now we are starting to be closer to being prime, and come out under the umbrella of the mentor, and start running our own business. I've seen a lot of things getting to be better, but generally, right, because of a lot of decision making points um, involved, they don't move at the pace of the technology, right? That's the number one challenge we've seen. But on the flip side of things, having been too close to it, we also see that changing at the speed of technology is not really what they want, right? Government wants to run the business, and we have heard this more than often, that IT is a supporting role for the business. It's not, IT itself is not a business, right?
Right.
So that's that. There is a lot of legacy systems that are doing the job. Like even SSA today is still running, I believe, a lot of COBOL and base systems and things like that. But if it's doing their job, even IRS today, right? It's IRS and SSA. They're if you can imagine, the IRS systems feels like so antiquated, but they're taking care of and the scale of the implementations are only a few commercial companies can come close to it, right? So if somebody's sitting outside and passing a judgment on US government that you're not passing, you're not changing fast enough, they just don't understand the magnitude of data they handle, and things like that. So on one side, I understand they have to have piecemeal modernization efforts that they have to go through, but I think it can speed up more. We are seeing agile coming in a lot more. A lot more agencies are starting to get agile, and DevSecOps, and those concepts are coming. I think the cloud concept will speed up and bring them up to par far quicker than any other technology that was out there. So they can outsource the IT to other agencies.
I mean, I think I agree. I think DevSecOps is a key, I want to say methodology that, if adopted by agencies, will transform their business, right? And they'll be able to bite it in pieces, in manageable pieces through that process, and it could significantly change and get rid of some of our antiquated legacy things that we still have. Because if you look at it and say, I got to replace this thing, it's too big.
Right.
It's just too much at once.
Yeah, and if I can be bitterly honest, I think a lot more accountability within the government folks themselves who are assigned to their work. I mean, there's maybe 10, I'm just making this number up, but in my experience, maybe 10-15% of employees seem to be really committed to their job from what perspective we hear. But if we can see more improvements around that, I don't know how. It's a big, government is a big organization, right? So where do you bring the policies from to make that happen? I think Trump tried a little bit to effectuate that you can fire people on the spot and things of that nature, but not nearly enough to make them be motivated to do their jobs more better. I think that's my without getting into trouble kind of answer.
Well, no, I think it's interesting. I mean, there's been many conversations over the years. I mean, I've been in government now for 12 years. Yeah. There's been many conversations on how do we evolve our workforce in ways that get them out of their old stovepiped view of how we do things. Yeah. And so, there's definitely a room for improvement, and room for improvement in how we skill up people, how we fluidly address the things that we need to get done.
Yep.
My agency, we do it because we basically outsource everything. And so that makes it much easier when you don't carry a staff load, but that's not the answer everywhere, right? Because you have to have some level of stability at larger agencies. So that's a really interesting challenge that we need to.
One in the last 6 months, I want to say, I don't know where I need to track where it came from, but there was what we saw was very little connection between IT and the business, right? And what we are starting to see is a lot of language in the procurement packages and things of that nature, where they want companies to prove that they can deliver business value. I think quote unquote business value is what is really catching up, and it really makes sense in the, when you do sprints, or when you do your sprint cycles. Don't deliver me features like this button works or that screen works, but what did that do for the business? Can you tie that down to if you can define your user stories as business units, not a IT unit, is what we are starting to see as a language delivering rapid business value. And I think that might, because right now IT is doing IT, they deliver whatever they deliver, and nobody knows what it really does for the business, right? I think they're trying to tie that together a little bit better.
That's a good point. Change. Yeah, I think IT organizations that are business focused bring that value, and then also bring whatever companies coming in to help leverage brings the business value. You're right. That those are the IT organizations that I hear lots of positive stuff about from various agencies. And it's a positive change, but it is a mentality change. And it, in some cases, it'll require turnover. In some cases, you just got to wait for somebody to retire.
Right. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. I mean, because they believe in certain way of operating, and it's hard to change. And so, we were an agency at USDA. We went in, and they had no implement. This is about 10 years ago, right? So at FSIS, we actually introduced Agile there, including how to buy Agile based sprint package in the procurement side of things. So even that's a huge challenge, right? So once and the contract moves to Agile, how do you procure it? Do we pay them on a per sprint basis, or those were some huge challenges, and we were part of solving some of those problems.
Well, then how do you sell upper management on what it's, we need X number of dollars. Oh, what am I going to get for it? Well, you're going to get the best thing needed. Well, that requires a lot of trust from upper leadership to the people at the lowest level. And that's not something government traditionally, or businesses in general traditionally have had to live with. So it's interesting change.
Yeah, even under Obama's administration, DHS, DHS is still within their procurement packages. You will see they want the Silicon Valley type of companies to come in and effectuate change, right? So it's they're starting to have that mindset, but those are some improvements I see that that can be effective in moving the government much farther, right? Sooner. Yeah.
So where do you see opportunities for growth for you and also for your company in the near future?
Yeah, so we are well situated. One of the things that we did as a company is to work hard on acquiring vehicles, right? So these vehicles last for 10, 15 years, and then task orders on them. So in the last 2 years, we have won vehicles to the tune of $17 billion, right? So we won a vehicle at Air Force. That's a $13 billion vehicle. Also, this is all of Air Force's enterprise business solutions. They are going to procure on this vehicle. This is a follow-on to what they call NetSense. I don't know if you've heard of a vehicle called NetSense. So we are on that as prime. And then we won SEC. We have a vehicle for $2 billion for 10 years at SEC. And then we have a single award, $110 million BPA at Small Business Administration, where we're doing a lot of cloud work and things of that nature. So I think winning on these vehicles, plus keep adding vehicles to the portfolio will make us stronger situated going in the next 5 to 10 years. And we, as a company, we added a new COO this year, very effective industry leader that knows, he's well known within the Beltway, Adesh Jain, and so he's bringing in quite a bit of new relationships and businesses, so that's we really right now I would consider we are a bit of heavy on the civilian government work. We are looking to go into the DoD space and especially Air Force is where we are targeting.
Interesting. So I think that's very smart of you. So a lot of small businesses, and before I got into the government, I worked for a number of small companies that were, 15, 20 people, that were only a flash in the pans, right? They were only there until their first contract was gone, and then the company was gone,
Yep.
because they never could figure out how to leverage that first contract into additional work. It's pretty smart of you to focus on vehicles. Vehicles are, if you're not on the vehicle, you can't even bid.
Correct.
Work. And GSA is pushing vehicles big. So most agencies, like my agency, the very first thing if we're not going to put it on a vehicle, it's a big grind to prove why we shouldn't. And because the vehicles bring with them a lot of already language in place and set companies that can definitely do the work. And so why would an agency then not use a vehicle? So that's pretty smart.
Yeah, and we are a prime on CIOSP3. We actually went and bought a company that had CIOSP3 vehicle. They were not doing any bidding on that. So to your point, I might be very close to the number. I think 70 or 80% of the companies fizzle out in the first 3 years.
Yeah.
They start, they get somewhere, but then 3 years later, they're like, I don't, this is not for me. And so there's quite a bit of struggle involved in I think it's like a 10% win, right? Where the win ratio to bid ratio. So you have to bid 100 proposals. You have to put in 100 proposals to get, 10 of them. And so that part is the one that kills the government contracting companies. The proposal process is pretty intensive. It has a lot of different components and lots of different documentations to read. And that cycle takes long, right? So our SB's vehicle took 16 months or so to award. So if you're sitting there as a small business with no other revenue, then you're going to be in trouble. So yeah, we have been very fortunate in that sense. We have put in our hours and starting to see some fruit come out. Just recently, like I mentioned, we won a $27 million contract, enterprise architecture contract at one of the, I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that because we are still looking to get approval for them for marketing and communications. Sure. So we are seeing good growth. These vehicles should make us a partnership is another thing, right? And you have to make a name where more proven companies are ready to partner with you to work. You have to be a trusted company and a hardworking company that has good proposal management. House to your company and things like that. So that's where we invested as well to make sure that we have a good proposal shop and we can do our share of partnership deal, whatever we sign up for the partnership.
Yeah, that's important too. You're right, because there's some procurements, government likes to bundle things sometimes, and so then if it's not a key area that your business can drive and bring, you need a partner to bring in to team on that opportunity.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So that's where we are focused on now. We have now invested in vehicles. Now time to, of course we want to have what government calls best in class vehicles. So there's a CIOSP3 coming up in a month or so. So we want to make sure we are working towards that. So be focusing on getting more vehicles into the mix, but also start monetizing some of those vehicles now. Is where the focus will be. Yeah.
Huh. Well, Sharad, I thank you for giving me your time today. This has been very enlightening, and as a government person, it's very, very interesting to hear how the small business challenges and how you have to work diligently to grow your business and make your case to government for why your company can deliver. And so, thank you so much for sharing that with me today.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Actually, thank you for inviting me. It makes me feel important that I've achieved something that I'm speaking out in the market, and hopefully I gave some information that's useful to others.
Yeah, well, you definitely, your path, if nothing else, your path is very inspirational for those who are trying to decide what they're going to do. And maybe somebody wants to own their own business, but that you don't start there sometimes, right? Unless you've got a lot of capital and a way to invest, you don't start there. You do what you did. You start earning income and you start some things on the side. You figure out what's going to stick, and that's a very inspirational story. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.